George Santos was on the verge of tears yesterday. Couldn't happen to a nicer guy. Couldn't happen to a more honest guy. Almost in tears, George Santos says he doesn't care anymore if they kick him out of Congress. He'll just take his toys and go home because you know what? It doesn't make any difference to him whether he's there or not. This is all happening because once again, it appears as though George Santos is very close to getting expelled from Congress. I know we've said it before. It actually seems like it's going to happen this time. There's a report that Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, went to George Santos, not with tears in his eyes, at least not then, and said, listen, if you resign, we can avoid what will likely be a very uncomfortable vote that we will take on expelling you. And George Santos is saying he's not going to resign and he doesn't care if they kick him out. Here he is, George Santos, almost in tears.
You all want a soundbite. This is the third time we're going through this. I don't care. I was sent here by the people of the 3rd District of New York.
Not really. They meant to send a different guy that doesn't exist.
I represent them, not the political class in Washington, D.C. If they want to send me home, if they think this was a fair process, if they think this is how it should be done, and if they're confident that this is a constitutional way of doing it, right. God bless their hearts.
Is it inevitable it happens?
Have you spoken to your colleagues to get their support?
I'm sorry?
Have you spoken to your colleagues to get their support?
No, I've never done it. This is the third
What support is he going to get from his colleagues? It seems they're all abandoning him.
time we've gone through this. I didn't do it the first time. I didn't do it the second time. Not going to do it the third time.
Why not whip two votes? Why not ask people?
It's not a good use of my time. Do you know what's a good use of all of our time? Is fixing the massive inflation in this country. Is fixing the issues we have in.
All right. So now he's fixing the massive inflation. Inflation's down to 3.2% over the last year. Inflation was 0 last month. What are you talking about? And then here is his impassioned and courageous speech. You tell me if it's impassioned and courageous. On the floor of the House yesterday, I will not be resigning. A principled and defiant George Santos.
Madam Speaker, on the matter of expulsion, we are now going down a third attempt for a privilege resolution to expel me from the House of Representatives this week. Just introduced one earlier today, and just earlier this evening, we had a second. Here's the case in point. In history, 5 members of Congress have been expelled. All 5 had suffered convictions in a court. All 5 had due process. This expulsion vote simply undermines and underscores the precedent that we've had in this chamber. It starts and puts us in a new direction, a dangerous one that sets a very dangerous precedent for the future. Are we to now assume that one is no longer innocent until proven guilty? And
by the way, I don't know what he keeps looking up at. I don't know if there's like a clock or there's someone he's looking at, but it's a very weird, distracting thing.
They are in fact guilty until proven innocent? Or are we now to simply assume that because somebody doesn't like you, they get to throw you out of your job? Or better more, does the Constitution bear no consequence? Where a duly elected member of the House of Representatives is elected by the general public, but then a couple of politicians decide that they don't like that person. These are all matters and questions that can be brought up. But I'll leave it at this. The process in which the Ethics Committee engaged was incomplete, irresponsible, and littered with hyperbole, and littered with biased opinions. The chairman of the committee himself admitted that it wasn't the full extensive process, and therefore he couldn't recommend from the committee a punishment or action. Therefore, cheapening the process of the Ethics Committee, cheapening the process that this country has expected from this chamber. Look, it is not a right to be a member of Congress.
Right.
The media will always remind me of that every time I talk to them. But it is a privilege that you work hard for, and you get elected to Congress as a privilege to represent those who have chosen you. Madam Speaker, I think we can all agree that due process matters and that we should all be very concerned about the way that we are conducting this process. I ask that all my colleagues in the House consider and understand what this means for the future, And to set the record straight and put this in the record, I will not be resigning.
There he is. And by the way, the guy sitting behind Santos is a gentleman named Vish Burra. Very interesting political operative who is a big defender of George Santos. There's a couple of good long form pieces about Vish Burra. It's not our subject today, but I did just want to mention that. So, I have to tell you, I actually happen to agree with George Santos that expelling him only because he has been charged with crimes is not really due process. Now, it's not illegal. There are many employers who say, if you are charged with certain crimes, then you get fired. If you were later acquitted, then we can look at rehiring you. But there's no legal issue. It is true, though, that it is not due process in the sense that if you are innocent until proven guilty, an indictment is only an allegation and doesn't make sense to expel George Santos for that. It doesn't matter to me. The fact that George Santos has lied about everything, the fact that George Santos has committed all sorts of different financial frauds that are not the subject of criminal complaints, but we just have people who told us, hey, he raised money for my dog and then he took the money and all these different things. It's outside of the judicial process. And just because he is such a liar, he deserves to be expelled. The people who voted for him voted for a candidate they believed had an education he doesn't have, had a business experience that he doesn't have, all these different things. So for me, he should have been long gone even before he was indicted. We already knew he had lied enough not to be there. It does seem as though at the end of the day, Santos is going down. And Mike Johnson giving him the opportunity to resign, to avoid getting kicked out. He says he's not going to do it. He may soon be told, you're gone, my friend. And that will be a good day for the United States. If you're like me, and I know so many of you are just like me, you hate the sticking and the rubbing that comes with traditional underwear. I'm sure most gentlemen in my audience know what I'm talking about. Our sponsor, Sheath Underwear, solves the problem. They have a patented ergonomic underwear design, separate compartments in the front. Everything stays dry, cool, and comfortable. With Sheath, you do away with the chafing and the sweating. Everything can air out and breathe and be fresh. Large variety of designs, something for everyone. The air circulation in Sheath underwear allows for a huge difference. And you've got to try it yourself to understand. I can tell you firsthand. Next level comfort down there. Sheath also now is offering super comfortable women's underwear, as well as silky smooth base layer undershirts and bottoms for men. Sheath has world-class customer service, super fast shipping, over 20,000 five-star reviews. Sheath is the perfect gift for the men and the women on your shopping list. Check it out at sheathunderwear.com/Pacman, and you'll get 20% off with the code Pacman. The link is down below.